Howdy peeps, and welcome back to another, I think this is part 11, yeah, somewhere around there anyway, of my Spitfire build series. Now last time I'd basically finished the assembly. It was just the canopy needed masking and gluing on, and then priming. Well, as I've already done a video on how I mask canopies, which is in my how I do playlist, I believe. I think I put it, yeah, I think I'll put it in there, something like that anyway. I figured no need to show that as I've already done it on a video, and priming will pretty much spray primer all over the model, job done. Anyway, let's have a look, see what we got. I apologise for my voice today, it's a bit weird. So, plain all built, canopy on, masked, primed. Fortunately got away with it and none of the seams needed any real work. Top or bottom. It's fine for what we're looking for this. So, what I'm going to do now is I will show, well, not in this video, I won't show both ways, but I'll show different ways of painting the lower half and the top half of the plane. The bottom half I'll use a black basing technique, similar to Matt McDougall's way of doing it. I think he bought it from someone else. These things come and go over the years as different fashions change, different techniques, all that. Where we add a mottled marble coat of a different shade to add tonal variance to the top coat basically, and then on the top I'll spray it the grey, then put the green camo on, and I will post fade it with lighter shades of the grey and the green to show two different ways of achieving similar kind of effects. So first things first, put the plane out of the way, get the cutting mat out of the way because we don't want to spray that, which is something I have a tendency to do. Grab a paint receptacle, and as the lower side of this is medium sea grey, I believe. Thought I had the paint out somewhere. Yeah, I do, there it is. I'm just going to go with a light greyish colour for the mottled coat. Okay, this is a Tamiya, because I find when you're trying to spray small, finer, more delicate things, Tamiya tends to work better for me, well for me at least, than Vallejo does. Also I find that, especially if we just spray in like the main colours, then yes, I will use either UMP thinner or X20A. Just UMP, Tamiya X20A. But for things like this, certainly I tend to use the Mr. Levelling thinner. It's just personal preference and the way I find I prefer the way it sprays. I get less tip dry, which, because we're spraying fairly fine and delicate, you can get quite a bit of tip dry if you're using, as I say, the likes of Vallejo or similar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So paint thin, my usual 50-50-ish, or I've gone slightly thinner on this than I would on a I've gone slightly past 50-50. This is like 8 and 11 drops. Give that a quick stir up. chuck it in the airbrush. Check the airbrushes. Yep. Just checking the airbrush wasn't clogged, because I did try and film something earlier and airbrush was dirty, and I figured another how to strip an airbrush down and degunge it video was probably not needed quite yet. So yes, we will have the sound of the compressor and the airbrush. There's not an awful lot I can do about that, I'm afraid. Right. Pretty much what we're doing is just spraying small mottled kind of patterns. Just not in a pattern, nice and random. I'm just thinking, judging by the noise and the amount of air that's using, whether I've got my compressor turned up silly high. No, I haven't. But while it's quiet, one way you can tell if you're getting tip dry is, you know, we're spraying the same kind of pattern, so holding the trigger in the same place. If it stops painting the same, there's dry paint on the needle. What I sometimes do, this isn't really necessary with the Tamiya and the MLT, is I'll do it without the needle cap on, just so I can easily nip the paint off of the, I'll do that in shot, just so I can easily nip any dried paint off of the needle tip as I go. Tricks to that though is remember to put the needle nozzle back on before you go and try and backflow the airbrush, or you will just stab yourself. Trust me, been there, done that many a time. And it stings, especially if it's got cellulose thin on it. Anyway, back to the painting. As you can see, we're just moving the airbrush around randomly, nice and close to create fairly thin lines. We're just looking to make a mottled effect, so that when we spray our top coat over the top, we get the tonal variance in it. So it's not all just one shade of grey. Obviously we can also alter that the tonality of the grey by how thick or how thin we layer the grey paint on. The thing with this technique is, if you put the top coat on too thick, you do totally lose all the effects. So it pays to be careful, a bit more steady when you're applying the top coat than you may otherwise be. You can see just random squiggly patterns all over. Trying to avoid any actual patterns or anything that looks too regular. Making sure we get a bit on the landing gear covers as well. Going slightly past where we need to be. just to make sure we're all covered. So that is the mottled coat done on the Spitfire. Now obviously I've mixed up way too much paint, and as I do have a mosquito to do the same on later, I will keep the paint. Normally I would just tip it, but hey, ready mixed paint is ready mixed paint. Just clean that big old horrible dribbled off the side of the airbrush so I don't end up getting it all over my hands. And again, I'm doing everything out of shot because I'm awkward like that. So we just spray the last of the leftover paint out of the airbrush. Yes, I'm an animal. I use the actual leg of my bench to spray out the excess paint on. So God knows how many hundreds of layers of paint that's got on it and how many different colours it is. It just backflow with some water to get the worst out. Oh, reach around this side. Bit of airbrush cleaner. Again, ultimate airbrush cleaner. Give the inside the colour cup a good wipe down so we've not got any paint left in the way. And inside the nozzle cap, and just in case. And yeah, you can see I didn't do that from the last time I was painting, which was last night when I was priming the mosquito. It had black in there. And again, we'll just blow that straight through. It's running fine. Tip the rest out into the little airbrush, little pot I have for whatever I tip out the airbrush. And those are going to be using a Vallejo paint next. Just put a bit of water through the airbrush so that it's it hasn't got any contaminants in it that might cause the model air paint to, well, turn into snot. So this is out of the RAF paint set. There's that one, and this is the medium sea grey, which is, what's the number? BS637, that one. So, and if you're one of those like me who can get on with model air and get it to spray well, not have issues or massive issues with it, some of the paint sets are a good idea. So I've got that. I've got a couple of others that have been randomly mixed in with the rest of my paints now. Got the USAF one. Mainly just because it's like black, white, and is it black and white and sort of 6 shades of grey, something like that. Anyway, because you never have enough shades of grey paint. It's just one of them things. Right. So there we go. Now this is where we have to go gentle. So the mottling still, so we get good coverage of the grey, but the mottle still shows through. I think this is one of those rare occasions where the camera is actually seeing the light better than my eyes are at the moment. And again, as I said, we're not looking for a perfect fake paint finish here. We're just looking for the paint to go down fairly damp so it dries smooth, but not too thick so that we still make out the mottles. And I think we're about there. Yep, it's still visible. And that is actually showing up on camera a lot more than it's showing up to the naked eye. So again, I'll just blow that excess paint through the airbrush. Okay, there was a little more paint than I was expecting. And again, clean out the airbrush. Now unfortunately, this is going to be a pretty short episode because I can't really do much until that paint has dried, because I need to mask for the top surface, and that's not usually a good idea to do it too rapidly. It's best to leave it, let things dry and cure before you're going to start sticking masking tape on it. And it's still a little too early even for me to start painting other details in. So as I just give my airbrush a quick degunk again, get rid of anything that's in there. Oh yeah, we are going to be a short episode today. The next one should be a bit longer because the upper surface camo I will freehand it, so that there are well, I just spray it all in one, spray the grey and then spray the green straight over the top. But I don't know if this will show up better if I lift it up closer. And it does actually show up a lot more on the camera than it does in real life to my naked eye anyway. It might just be that I'm going blind, you never know. So that is basic and simple, quick and dirty way of doing the black basing technique. Now you can do it with multiple coloured mottlings, super delicate, super fine. Really take your time over it. If you've got a detail airbrush like a Sotar or whatever it is with something like a 0.12, 0.15 needle in it, then yeah, go to town and you can end up with an amazing result. You can even just build up different colours and different layers of the mottling until you end up at the final surface without actually putting a final top coat on it. It all depends how much time you want to take, how long you're prepared to give it. And that for me is far enough because, oh excuse me, by the time I got the decals on and wash and all that kind of stuff, it'll all merge into each other. So, where was I? Well, I'll say, if there's, as usual, if there's anything else you'd like to see on the channel, any how I do's, I hate to use the word tutorial, but there we go. Things explained, glossaries. If there's something that's got you slightly confused and you're not entirely sure, ask away. It's what people like me, Paul, everyone who, or to me anyway, everyone that has a YouTube channel should be willing to answer people's questions and share what they know. There's no point keeping things a secret unless you are a competitive modeller and you're just looking to win the trophies at the end of the year's events or whatever. then fair enough, you're going to need to keep a few secrets. But in my case, I'll share everything I know. If you want to know something, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a build I'm doing online or a review I've done. Even if it's just something you see me posting the work in progress pic of on one of the Facebook pages. If you've got a question, ask. I'm always willing to answer. Anyway, enjoy your modelling. Peace out. Rock on and have fun. That's the most important bit. Bye bye.